Hey everybody, welcome to episode 41. I can't believe it's been 41 episodes already. Um, Today's episode I'm going to talk about a big influence of mine, a pre-Star Wars influence at that too. Um, and I'll show you a couple other things that's going on. I got something in the, a package came today. I'm going to open it here on the video. As you can see what that is, it's a surprise. No, it's nothing big, but I just wanted to open it up. I haven't opened it up yet. Um, Anyways, and then there's a couple. I made a couple. I ordered one thing that is of note, and I also pre-ordered something else, and kind of ordered something. I think I was trying to pre-order it, and one thing was already in stock, so they're sending it one of those things. But anyways, I'll get into that towards the end. So what I want to talk about today is best way to describe it. Oh, is to show you this big monster here. This is a I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of these before. It's an artist edition that was put out by IDW, and it's got it upside down. It's a little box that it comes in, and it's this big honking thing. It's an artist edition of the Michael Golden Marvel. Even though it's IDW, they own the rights to reprint this, but it was the Marvel Micronauts comic from back in the day, which I don't believe predates Star Wars. I think the comic started in '79. I want to say maybe '78. We'll look into it and see here. But I know the comic came out well after the toys kind of hit the U.S. But yeah, the toys that I had, I started getting them in '77. I think they came out in the States in '76. And what they were, if anybody doesn't know this, they had a series in Japan called Microman. I believe it was Takara that put them out. I could be wrong. I think it was Takara. And they were kind of the impetus for the Star Wars figures, the 3 3/4, because they had little, and their whole point was they made these smaller figures so you could put them in vehicles, scaling down from the classic 12-inch G.I. Joe or even like the 8-inch Mego dolls. And they had a bunch of different, toys in that line. I don't believe there was a media for it. I don't think there was. I don't know enough about my Microman history. Frankly, I don't really care to know it, but I am a little interested to know a little bit more about Microman. But when it was brought over here, this is just like Robotech when they brought, or even Transformers, when they brought over, or GoBots. When they brought other stuff over from Japan, they called it by a different name, created by American toy companies. I believe, was it Matchbox that brought over? I'm just trying to look. I got a picture up of all the boxes here. I'll go to this. We'll check it out. I think it was Matchbox. I think brought over Micronauts is what they call it. So they just changed it from Microman to Micronauts, and they they had a series of toys out, some vehicles, some play sets, really, really top-notch stuff. I mean, this stuff is like, plastic and die-cast, magnetic parts, firing missiles, firing, all kinds of, little bombs and stuff. They were, they had the foam cases that the figures could go back, each part was in its own little section in a foam case. I mean, super, this is just how Japan rolls. I mean, they do pretty top-notch stuff, especially Takara, Bandai, all those different companies. They do some pretty crazy things. If you ever saw like Diaclone or Godaiken, some of that stuff, it's just, it's insane. But it's also extremely expensive. But when it came over here, it was, I think it was pretty moderately priced. I don't think it was any more so than any other toy at the time. I think Mego doll. I remember I got a Mego doll. I just remember the specific. I got a Superman Mego doll in Tawas City. We were on vacation one year at a general store, and it was like, I want to say it was like $1.50 for a Mego doll. I could be wrong. Maybe it was on sale. The only reason that one comes to note is I ended up forgetting it on a park bench by the beach, and there it went. Somebody came along and took it after I forgot it there. So that's how I lost my Superman Mego doll. Anyways, and that also, I believe, was pre Star Wars. The reason I just bring that up is because Star Wars is such a huge, impacted all this stuff in pop culture so heavily, that I kind of judge, it's kind of like the pre-crisis of DC Comics. You've got pre-Star Wars and post-Star Wars. And Micronauts, well, the comic wasn't per se, but the toys were pre Star Wars. Anyways, so I want to show you this, because this is one of my kind of prized possessions. This was gifted to me by a very good friend. I believe it was a Christmas present or a birthday present. I can't remember which ones. One of the either one. I think it was a Christmas present. These aren't cheap. I mean, these go for, I don't know what he paid for it. But this came out in 2020, and it's probably 150. I think it lists for like 150. I mean, you might be able to find a little cheaper online places, but it's a big table of a book, and so an artist edition is they reproduce the original comic book artwork, and they do it on really high quality paper. They don't do it on bristleboard per se, but they do it on real high quality paper. And these are the actual pages, pretty much just scanned and maybe cleaned up a little bit just for printing it in here, putting it in here. And then they put these, they're sort of in order, kind of, sort of, and they are missing some of the pages because obviously these look like they have. Anything that's like a yellow like this usually means that they have the original pages, but when they don't, because it belongs to a private collector that they couldn't get. I think what IDW is, they sent out like communications to people that they're aware of owned large collections of stuff, like Heritage Gallery and other private collectors. Heritage isn't a private collector; it's a company, but other collectors, and said, hey, can we borrow the pages to scan, and we'll return them. We're a comic book company. We're used to treating this stuff, with tender, loving care. So, they trust them to do it. And I think some people did send them in, but some pages I think were lost, or just it's in a private collection that nobody knows where it is. And for that, they use these full-size photostats. And if you don't know what a photostat is just basically a fancy word for Xerox copy. In the comic book trade, they use the word photostat a lot. I tend to use it sometimes myself, referring to comic book stuff specifically. If it's a Xerox, I'll call it a Xerox. But, so, some of the stuff, like I said, is photostated, all in black and white, no color. Here's the thing. Being a comic book artist myself, I've probably gone over this a bunch of times in other videos, but I can stare at this stuff for hours, and that's why I like this book. I can sit there, I crack it open periodically when I kind of want to recharge my batteries, and I just stare, and I just look at every little piece of detail. I mean, stuff that you're not going to see, when you're reading it either in a comic book that's printed, even in an omnibus or even a digital copy. I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't compare. I mean, nothing compares to seeing the stuff in real life. Once you go into a convention stuff, you sat there and scrutinized these, original artwork pages. Nothing compares to that. Seeing the ink, seeing the fresh ink on the page is just, it's transcendent. For those who are, into that kind of thing. But, yeah, just marionette there. I'll get into the characters a little bit. I'm not going to tell the story so much, but Michael Golden was the artist on most of these for issues. I think this goes up like issue 13, I think. And they went on for a while. Cool Man-Thing appeared in it. And the Micronauts actually kind of crossed over. It was a multiverse of, I hate using that term. I just think it's overused nowadays, but that's kind of what it was. It was an alternate universe as a micro world of Earth, on a different planet, but it was a micro world in the universe. So it exists in the same universe as the Marvel Comics universe, the main universe, and anyway, so some of them times basically they did this with a lot of the toy product comic books. is they would if sales were lagging or they needed to really kind of pump up some sales, what they do is they just throw in like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Man-Thing. He was popular at the time. They throw in these popular characters just to kind of boost sales. It was a clever gimmick. I mean, it makes sense. Of the tons of crazy gimmicks that comic book companies, especially Marvel, have come up with in the last few decades, I think this one was probably one of the most palpable, I can't even say the word, you know what I'm saying. It was easy on the nerves, or easy on the senses, I guess. I mean, that's not the best way to describe it either. But anyways, you get my point. So, yeah, so, and this was probably, I mean, there was a Star Wars comic by Marvel too. Marvel seemed to have most of the licenses. I mean, Gold Key and stuff had like Star Trek license and Lost in Space, other like older properties, but all like the big toy properties of the 80s for the most part that weren't comic book related, meaning superhero related. Marvel had most of them. They had G.I. Joe, they had Transformers, and before that they had this one, they had Godzilla, was at the same time as this, Shogun Warriors. And I'll probably do a Shogun Warriors video all into itself, but I don't really have any Shogun Warrior things to kind of show off. Not to say that I need to talk about it, but Shogun Warriors was at the same time with this, and it was also pre-Star Wars for me, and it was huge for me. I would say Micronauts probably somewhat bigger just because I had more of them, and I had more of the comics than I had the Shogun Warrior comics. They're only like 20, I think, or 15 or 16. There's not that many Shogun Warrior comics. And the thing is, they didn't have all the licenses to all the different the Gonagai characters, so they had to like use, they didn't make up, but they used a couple of them that they didn't have toys for, so it's kind of weird. For the most part, so the characters that were created for Micronauts were created by Marvel Comics. Like Marionette. Marionette she never had an action figure, unfortunately, but she she's drawing nice there. Anyways, she was made up for the comic specifically. My favorite character, I'll find a better picture of him, was a Crozier. He was also my favorite toy of all of those. Bug was created for the comic, and I could have sworn there was a Bug toy, but that there wasn't. It was just my imagination getting the best of me, but they never had a Bug toy. I think they had a character called Space Glider, who was kind of like, you would treat him as your Force Commander, although there was a Force Commander. And there was a green version, because they had different color variants of some of the same figures, just kind of repaints, and repaints back then, too, just to sell more toys. But I think they had a green one, and I kind of considered him like the Bug character. Here is a color. I think the color was done on the, and this is amazing, too. I mean, look at this. This is color. This is probably, it's either inks, the dyes, the Doc Martin dyes. Most likely that's what it is. It could be gouache. But it's colored right on the original artwork, and I gotta say, it just looks amazing. I don't know how well this reproduced or reprinted. Maybe you see use white paint to kind of do highlights and stuff in there, but that's some of this color stuff where it's colored right on the page. It's just amazing, and I don't know if that was done after it was sent to print or what, but because it obviously doesn't look that good in the printed comic. But yeah, so his Force Commander there, in his he had a Baron Karza, which is the main bad guy, basically Darth Vader, even though before Darth Vader, and then Force Commander were the same toy, again, repaints, make a white one and a black one, make a good one and make a bad guy, and they had these horses that they had, and then you could they all came apart, and you could put them on the horse and make centaurs out of them. It was just amazing stuff. They don't do any of this stuff anymore. I mean, these toys were so badass back then, and America totally doesn't do anything like this. I mean, even with all your boutique toys, that cost $1 million, You know, and some of those are great too, but, you know, for mass market retail stuff, you know, nobody compares to what the Japan would put into their stuff. I love this cover. It's probably one of my favorite. I remember I talked about this with the Ninja Turtles. I talked about this with the X Mutants comics. I love this uh, this page concept where you've got the main group of good guys in the middle, all back to back, being surrounded by a bunch of baddies. I just love that, and like I said, I like to use that a lot. I've used it a couple of times myself, but I just love when I see that. As far as one of my, classic comic book tropes, as far as cover tropes, that's one of my favorites. My chair's flipping back. I'm trying not to whack the pages here. I don't want any of these popping out. There's it's a great one. Force Commander there. I would show you the CBR. I have CBRs of some of these, but they're just scans of old comics, so they can barely tell what's going on in some of them. Again, just seek out Micronauts comics. I mean, you can get these. I don't know what they go for now, but for the longest time, you could get Micronauts comics in dollar bins. And dollar bins. I mean, we used to find it in the quarter bins back in the day. Actually, that one cover I was talking about, the one with all the guys surrounding him, that was a comic that was fairly new at the time that I picked up at that Village VC's, the Village Corner party store on U of M campus, right down the street from my sister's sorority house. We used to go there, and they had all those. I was telling you about all those comics. Had just boxes and boxes of back issues. Not bagged, just thrown in I think they use beer cases or something like that. Something that they had boxes of back from their stock. They just throw comic books in there, and that was one of them. That was fairly new, within a year or two. It was in those boxes. So, like I said, this is a really neat thing. I'd like to get more of these of other comics, but I don't. Like I said, they're pricey, and I really. There's a bunch of omnibuses I want and stuff like that. I just, eventually I'll probably get some of this stuff. I'm not in any big hurry. If I miss it, I miss it. But this one, when it came out, I was like, oh, I really want that. And like I said, I kind of put the bug in my friend's ear about it, and he ended up delivering I'm pretty sure it was a Christmas gift. So if you're watching this, you know who you are. Thanks again for that. But let me kind of talk about the toys a little bit here. Let me switch over. I'm going to go to. I have a bunch of folders that I put together of vintage toys and games, and I have them by year. So a specific wave would come out in a year, and so this one here is basically my 70s folder, and this is 1977. Although a lot of these are 76 when they came out. 76, 77. So most of the stuff came out. I just have this in here. I don't know why I threw this in here, but this is actually this is the cover of the New Voyages. I think it was 1984. They kind of not rebooted, but they stopped the original Micronauts series and started the New Voyages. And this was the cover, and it's just an amazing cover. I think this is computer colored. Oh, no, this is the Heritage. Okay, so yeah, Heritage Auction currently has this. I don't know what the bids are right now. It's probably sold. I'm sure it was astronomically priced, but I think this was, it's hand-colored. Just amazing stuff. Like I said, I think looks like what they did was they airbrushed this background, because that looks like airbrush. They probably took what's called liquid frisket, or liquid mask, and they probably masked off the ship and the characters, from the pencils, or maybe the inks. It's probably the inks, most likely. And then they took an airbrush and they airbrushed it. They probably taped the sides too to get this nice clean edge. It's something I saw like Mr. Dodson, my high school art teacher, do when he was making his stamp paintings. He would tape the sides, and that's just a common thing. You take artist's tape, so when you pull it off, you get this nice clean section. Of course, it does break the frame a little bit there, so I wonder what was going on there. But yeah, and then it looks like this might even be colored inks. They might have went in and ink to this with a blue pen. That's what it looks like, which is pretty cool looking. And then, or blue ink. It might not have been a pen, but they probably took a. I'm thinking they took a Doc Martin ink, and then they used a Coquille or a dip pen or a brush, and probably, or maybe even a technical pen, and did this ship in the background. But yeah, this is top notch stuff. I mean, that's just amazing looking, and all hand done too. So I just love looking at that stuff. But again, I'll stop gushing here. But here, Acroyear is this guy here. He's like this race of warriors. I just thought he was so badass looking. I loved the helmet. And like I said, he was based off the toy. I'll show you the toys up here. I'll get to him in a minute. And I'm pretty sure that's pronounced. I always called him Acroyear, but I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it. The main guy, I have Force Commander. I can't remember what his name was. His name escapes me. The human guy. And then, like I said, I used to always use Space Glider. And then Marionette. What a great costume. That kind of crazy sunburst, very 70s. With a lot of leg. The leotard. And she's got the arm-length gloves and the thigh-high boots and the cool mask, blonde hair. That's just amazing. She's got the Farrah Fawcett, very feathered haircut. Great-looking character. There's Bug, of course. He's the bug race guy, and he's kind of like the comedy relief. He's the one that's he's kind of like Nightcrawler a little bit, but like a goofy version of Nightcrawler. He's the one that's always who's always joking. I can't remember the name of this guy. This guy was created for the comic as well. I want to call him the Adaptoid, but I don't think that's what his name was. I can't remember what his name was. And I think he came on like later on in the comic book. He wasn't right there at the beginning. Then Biotron. I had the Biotron toy, which is right over here. I'll go through the toys real quick. But Biotron was awesome. And then, of course, the ship, which looks nothing like the toy, which I believe didn't come out till 78 or 79. But and then this little guy here, the Microtron guy. I never had Microtron. But here's the vehicles and the stuff figures that I did have. I did have the Warp Racer. I did have Space Glider, and I also had a green Space Glider that I got at Chatham grocery store right down the street from Kitty Land and Rochester Book Center, right across the street from Rochester High School there. When Chatham, Chatham was a great Scott. I don't know what it is right now. It's Gordon Food Service, I think. I can't remember, but that was like our grocery stores to go to most of the time was Chatham. And they had a bunch of toys in there. I probably told the story of wanting... Maybe I didn't. I'll save it for the Shogun Warrior episode. But there was a Shogun Warrior incident I had in there. And they would discount a lot of stuff. And they'd throw them right next to, where you go to the back stock room. There was this wire bread rack. And on the wire bread rack, there was a bunch of, either opened figures, because kids would open them. And they would put prices, price gun prices on the back of the figures and sell them for a quarter, 50 cents. I think that's where I got the green Space Glider was there. It wasn't opened, but I think the package was pretty, banged up, and it was 50 cents. I knew these were probably only $1.50, $2, but I got it pretty cheap, and I just called him he was my Bug. In the comic, started reading the comic, I just called him Bug. And then the human guy was this guy for me. There's my favorite right there. Acroyear, yeah, Acroyear. That's how you pronounce it. My favorite figure. They had a blue. He was it was supposed to be red, but it ended up becoming this pink color. But mine was pretty red. This might even be a variant here. With the pink, but it might be supposed to be a girl, a female version, because there were female versions that showed up in the comic. Like I said, they're just this race of armored warriors. They had blue skin and kind of like dreadlock type things underneath their hair. They're like tentacles, almost like the Predator. I think, or did they just have? I can't remember what they looked like. I know they're blue or bluish, kind of a purplish blue. I can't remember exactly what Doc Martin color they were, but anyways, yeah, this was my all-time favorite, and I think I had a couple of them because I broke one, and I believe I got him at Kresge's, which was around the block. No, I didn't get him at. Well, did I? You know, I know Kresge's was there. Obviously, I think my mom met my dad at that when she worked at Kresge's before I was born. But so I was there since the 50s or the 60s, whenever the Kresge's was owned. You know, the Kmart Corporation. They had the Kmart store, but then they had Kresge's, and I think I got it there. And this was still pre-Star Wars, and it was pre. We moved into a house very close to there on Winry, which you kind of could scoot through like a backyard and go over and get to it, to that shopping center through the subdivision. I lived in the North Hill subdivision there, just north of Rochester, on Tinkin and Rochester Road. It was, you know, kind of, yeah. So anyways, but I want to say I got it there, but I might not have. I might have got it somewhere else. You know, we'd go to Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights periodically. That was like the big, you know, family trip to the mall on like the weekends. And I know I got some Buck Rogers figures there. I might have got it at the mall at one of the toy stores, either JK or K. Well, JK wasn't there, but KB or whatever. They had other toy stores too. Could have got it at Sears. They had to carry this stuff at the at the major anchor stores too. But anyways, yeah, I had him, and I remember breaking one. You know, it just kind of fell apart in my hand because I played with them too much. You know, they were pretty robust. You know, but I mean, you know, you're a kid. I mean, I used to beat the crap out of this stuff. So I think I had to get another one at one time. These used to be like stocking stuffers. I remember, I think that Christmas in '77, I believe. I had this green, my sister's was white, mine was green knit scarf, or knit stocking that we'd hang on the fireplace for Christmas. I think we still have them. And, you know, you get candy and stuff like that, or Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels cars, and stuff in that stocking. But some of these figures we would get, they'd shove these in there. You know, my mom would kind of, I think she would fold it and fold the because it was kind of a big card, and she'd fold it back and shove it in the thing. So I didn't care about the card then. I was going to rip it off and play with them anyways. But I had a few of these just generic time traveler guys, which kind of, they came with a lot of the vehicles. You know, here's a red one. We had some friends of the family. I always assumed they were cousins for the longest time until I realized they were just neighbors that moved to another subdivision. But we used to go on vacations with them and go to like different events with them, and they had a couple of kids, a girl and a boy. A girl was my age, and the boy was like a couple of years older than me, but younger than my sister. And he had a lot of, she had it too. You know, the sister too. They had a lot of these toys too, and I used to go over there and play with their Micronauts as well. And they had Shogun Warriors. They eventually had Star Wars figures, yada yada. I remember this, the Astro Station specifically, because I got this for a birthday present in 1977, and I always thought this was pretty cool. I remember sitting on my bed at my house on Alice, and sitting in the bedroom there, and I remember my sister sitting on the floor by there. I don't know what she was doing, listening to records or maybe reading a book or something, and I was sitting on the bed playing with this. I have pretty fond memories for that. I mean, you're talking, this is 1977, so I was in kindergarten in 78, so you're talking preschool. I mean, I remember pretty far back, but after like 76 and earlier, yeah, I just have vague memories of things, but I can still remember, you know, when I was 4, when this came out, or when I got this. It actually came out in 76, but I got it in 77. This Strata Station, I never had it, but the friends of the family, they had this thing. It was pretty cool. They also had this too. They had the Mobile Exploration Lab. I kind of wanted this. I just thought it looked cool. It was cool. I should dig up the commercial too. It was a pretty cool commercial. But this is one I had to have it. I didn't get him until 70. I want to say 78, and I think I got him for a birthday. Or did I get him for Christmas? I got him for some reason. I know their Star Wars is out. Star Wars figures are out by this time. Now, again, when I say 1977, obviously that's the year Star Wars came out, but the 78 is when the toys came out. So I still consider 77 toys-wise pre-Star Wars. Because the movie just came out, I think it was in the spring, and we kind of didn't forget about it, but it didn't really sink in until 78 when all the merchandise started coming out. That's when I had my big Star Wars birthday, and that was in 78. So, so I had this Biotron, and you know what? Was that 78 that I got that? I think I did get it for a birthday in 78. I gotta check my dates exactly, but pretty sure. And I just thought he was the coolest thing in the world. He's really big, like this big, and he's battery powered. You can put a figure in his chest, and like I said, you can kind of transform him into this crazy thing. And the battery powers the wheels. This tank tread would actually roll. You'd roll across the table or floor. It's pretty slick. I said I never had Microtron. I don't believe I had the Hydra. I did have the Crater Cruncher. I know I specifically got that at Sears in Lakeside Mall. I remember because we went to the candy shop, and we also went to Olga's, if you remember Olga's, and ate. I had hot dogs and curly fries there that day when I got this. Here's I had the hydrocopter. The friends of the family had the hydrocopter. They also had a pool at their new house. They had a swimming pool. I have a lot of fond memories of going to their swimming pool, but I took mine in the swimming pool because it was a hydrocopter, so it was supposed to be like half submarine, and it got all filled with chlorine and stuff like that. I didn't wreck it. I mean, I just remember it smelled differently. It smelled like chlorine instead of smelling like plastic. Photon sled. I had the photon sled. I had the ultrasonic scooter. I always thought it was a trike, like a Harley trike or a Triumph trike. It was the 70s. Again, I never had that, but wanted it. I did have Baron Karza. I got Baron Karza as a gift because he was kind of pricey. And I did not have Baron Karza's horse, which I don't think I have here. I didn't have his horse, so I couldn't turn Karza into the, the Centaur. But I got Force Commander again, this would have been 79. They had a big sale at our school. It was like a rummage sale at my elementary school. And I just remember, they had my whole kindergarten classroom. And I think I might have been going into first grade at the time. So it might have been 79. It would have been 79. So it was during the summer. School wasn't in session. So I was already done with that. And we went to this, I think they had a school fair too. I might be getting my wires crossed. It might be two separate events. But I remember they had this big rummage sale at the elementary school. And my mom and stuff were there. And they had a bunch of toys in the elementary school, or Mrs. Elliott's kindergarten class. They had a bunch of toys for sale there, kind of up where the blackboard was, in like boxes and stuff. And I went through those boxes, and I ended up getting I got the Silver and the Lone Ranger toy, the big Mego doll, and the big silver horse. And then I got him, and he didn't have the cart of this, the box lid was gone, but it still was in the foam, just like that. And I think they had a piece of saran wrap covered it, so nothing fell out. And everything was there. I didn't have any of the literature. It was just the foam, the guy. And then I was digging in the box a little bit farther, and I found the horse. See how they do that there. I found the horse. I think the horse came out the next year, which would have made sense because this is it's about 2 years into collecting it. But the horse was buried down in the box farther. He didn't have a box. He was just loose, and ended up getting those. So I had Force Commander and this horse. And then, like I said, here's a cool picture. That's how they came in those little foam things. It's so sweet looking. just before I skip over, here's just an ad for the Micronauts are hot. So was Marionette. This is an ad for the comic, but let me go back into the 70s. Like I said, here's my 70s folder. I don't know if you ever remember those guys, the Rascal Robots. I don't want to get too off track here, but let's go back to the 70s. I'll see some 70s toys here. I'm going to go Shogun Warriors and skip that. Let's go to 78. So yeah. Oh, Andromeda. Andromeda was the horse for the Baron Karza, and Oberon was the horse for, Force Commander. And it's kind of funny. I think about it, I'm reading the Guns of Avalon, and their Oberon was from the Amber series. Oberon's, was a character or was a place? I can't remember. There's I'm gonna get it now. One of the books is called something of Oberon. Something of Oberon. I'm trying to remember. Anyways, it's out on the bookshelf. We'll worry about that later. So they had this Croyer too. I didn't like him. I just thought he was kind of dumb looking. And then there's the Battle Cruiser. I wanted the Battle Cruiser, never got the Battle Cruiser. The friends of the family, obviously I'm talking about those friends of the family, they bought a big house out in Rochester Hills, and they also had a pool. The dad owned a cement company, like a construction cement company that did construction, and so they had a lot of money, so they had a lot of the toys, and my dad didn't make that kind of money, so I didn't have everything, but those friends had pretty much all of the stuff, and more, of course, deep-seated jealousy. Giant Acroyer, I never had that. There's Spheroids. I think I had one Spheroid. I didn't have the blue one. I can't remember. I had the different color ones. Well, I had said the red Spheroid. The Rhodium Orbiter didn't have that. Thorium Orbiter didn't have that. Betatron, I don't believe I had it. Let's just see, do they have any 79 Micronauts? So let's just go to 79 Micronauts real quick. Okay, so in 1979, the year is insignificant. I don't know why I keep saying 1979. But anyways, so these figures came out, and I remember getting these at Meyer Thrifty Acres. Meyer is a kind of a local, Michigan Midwest store. And I believe that the first one, they had one in Rochester that was built when I was in high school, but I believe that the first one that I can remember was down in 15 Mile in DeQuinder, kind of like, south of Rochester, and everybody called it Meyer Thrifty Acres. I do notice they have the sign up there. It says Meyer Thrifty Acres in their... up on their wall now, but I guess they're bringing that back. But before we just called it Myers or Migers. I would say one of Migers. So anyways, Migers used to be called, or it still is, but back then it's called Meyer Thrifty. I always thought it's Meyer, but I always call it Myers. There's no S on it. It's just like Ford's, Kmart's, Myers. But anyways, we went there, and they had these, and I didn't know they existed yet. They're brand new, and I just think that's kind of funny. The Meijer, it's right around the block from my apartment here that I go to something periodic. I don't go there as much anymore. I go to Kroger more for my groceries, but they get figures like once in a blue moon, and they always get stuff that's been out for a while, barely ever. I mean, this is cutting edge back in the 70s when Meijer was getting like stuff before even commercials hit. But they had these 3 and eventually 4 aliens. I think these were the first 3. I remember this guy specifically. He's so crazy looking. My son would definitely call these pancake heads. I think he's seen these before. He knows about the pancake heads. But these are so cool. And obviously these might have been Microman or probably some other toy line. But the thing to note about these that's really cool is all of the box art was done by Ken Kelly. And Ken Kelly, I don't know if you know who he is, but he is he's essentially a Frank Frazetta clone. But he does his own style. He does a lot of fantasy stuff, and he's really known for the doing the Kiss album covers, like Love Gun, Destroyer. I have to do a whole video on Kiss, because Kiss also was huge for me in 1979. But so anyways, he what do you call it? Yeah, he did all the album cover, not all of them, but he did like the Destroyer, Love Gun. He did a bunch. He did a bunch of other science fiction book covers and stuff. But he did all the package art for this stuff, and I just love it. I mean, it's so pushes all my buttons. I love the package art to this stuff. I just wish they would do more. I mean, I know the new He-Man stuff is kind of indicative of this, you know, trying to emulate it for the most part. But I just love this stuff, this Ken Kelly artwork. You know, and then they had these vehicles, like this thing, the Terrafont, which is like this like mechanized half tank, half elephant looking crazy thing. I had this. I had the Hornetroid, which is the flying. Look how evil that thing looks. Just I only can barely see it, but just this this crazy looking thing. Oops, will it get bigger if I do this? No. But yeah, this crazy looking thing. I believe I had this. I want to say I eventually got this guy, but I don't know if I did. I might not have got Lobros. Well, wait. It was either Lobros or Kronos. I want to say Kronos was the one that came out. I only had 3 of them. I didn't have the 4th one. One of these 2. I know for a fact I had these 2. I did Antron and I had Membros. Membros thing was my favorite. I just loved his crazy hair with his big teeth. I just remember my dad had, my dad's got hair like me, and he had 70s, longer 70s parted in the middle, hair feathered, and I remember my mom seeing the package. This goes, "Oh, Jim," was my dad's name. "Jim looks like Jim. He's got Jim's hair and his beady, evil eyes," which my dad, he would give my mom the look, and he had the beady, he had the beady, evil eyes when he was mad at my mom. I just remember that conversation then. And then the Terrafont. Now these, I remember them coming out, Star Defender. I more remember the Star Searcher. I never had these. But I remember them coming out. And I believe that was the end of the Micronauts. I think they went into the 80s. Yeah, lots of 80s. Like I said, I have a whole Kiss folder. But like I said, I'll get into my Kiss, love of Kiss. And, I still... 3 times now I've missed out on getting the Kiss dolls by that action figure company, and they're on back order again. And I don't know if I'm going to get them, but I just wanted to show this real quick. That's Ken Kelly. That's Love Gun. I used to the reason I put that in there is I had this belt buckle in kindergarten, and it had the Ken Kelly artwork on the cover of that. Also, it used the same artwork on the. I'll get into my Kiss video on itself. But I'll probably do it when I'm going to order Rock and Roll Over on LP, and I'll probably do my full Kiss exploration video when I get that record, or if I get those dolls. They're $200 for the set of 4 of them, and I just can't pull myself to pull the trigger on them. Mego dolls, yada yada yada. All right, so I kind of covered. Yeah, see, we're doing okay. We got some time to go over some last stuff. So. My Micronauts, like I said, I collected the comic, I had the toys, wished there was a TV show, just so wished there was a TV show, cartoon, I would have loved that. I mean, that would have been amazing, back in the day if they did that. But, the comic book was fine for me. I had a lot of them. I didn't have all of them, missing a few here and there. Again, because that was pretty much, like I said, my comic book collecting prior to '84 was mostly all of the licensed, toy licensed and movie licensed comics. Shogun Warriors, Godzilla. Like I said, I had a few superhero comic books, but not many. Most of them were Batman and Spider-Man comics. Yeah, it was a huge time. I mean, this late 70s was huge for me. I mean, Shogun Warriors, Micronauts, Star Wars, Kiss, Battlestar Galactica, I mean, just keeps, Mego dolls, Evel Knievel, it's just all this stuff was huge for me. one of the ways I learned how to start drawing was this right here, the Mighty Men and Monster Maker, which is a toy that I had. I never had it, but the rich kids, the rich friends, they had that. I wanted it. The only thing I wanted it, and they were going to give it to me at one point. And then I tried to, it was about that too short, the front seats, to put 2 stormtroopers. I don't know why I wanted to put stormtroopers in there, but stormtroopers were white and black. This thing was white and black, and I wanted to put stormtroopers in there, and they didn't fit. And I was just like, oh, I don't want it now. I'm weird. I was a weird kid. So yeah. All right, let me just do a little pivot here. I'm going to show you a couple of things. Let's leave that up. So here's my my Big Bad Toy Store cart, or my pre-orders and orders. Like I said, I've got the 2 Dungeons and Dragons figures, Xerox and Strongheart. They're still on pre-order. They come in, when do they come in? I think they come in September. Why is he still in here? Oh, it's from orders. Okay. Oh, I'm in the orders. I'm not in the pre-orders. But, yeah. He already came in week way. I've got 9 Gnome still on pre-order. He comes in around at the same time. But, like I said, I'm not a huge... I did my anime video, and I told you I'm not a huge anime fan, but there's a few things that I like to have. And I saw these... normally these... I mean, these are big, like 8 or 9 inches. But these... anime statues, these figurines, sometimes they're just astronomically priced, but these ones are for the size, they're relatively decently priced. So I ordered myself, or I pre-ordered Lum, Udasai Yapsuda, that's how you pronounce that. I ordered the Lum one. She's pretty cool looking. Hopefully it looks that good. I mean, and she's what? She's 8.7. She's taller than the multiverse figures. So I ordered her, and she comes out in what, September, and then I ordered this other one as well. This one comes out in October. Her on her knees, looking over her shoulder. I know, I just like these. These speak to me. So, like I said, this was probably, like I said, I was just talking to somebody on an email, you know who you are, and I said, or not email, but a message on Patreon, and I said that I could think of maybe less than a handful, maybe a handful in the 80s, but every decade for like the last, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, including now, I could think of about 2 to 3 anime/manga properties that I think are pretty cool, that I like. But overall, with the sea of stuff that's out there, and there's tons of it, I would say most of it's shit. But like I said, a very small amount of things that I kind of like. But I'm not a huge anime fan by any stretch of the means. I mean, I appreciate manga more just because it's, like comic books, and I appreciate looking at the manga. But I like the old school stuff, and this is definitely old school. And then I also ordered Sailor Jupiter. She's my favorite Sailor Scout. And these have been out for, so I ordered this thinking she was a pre-order, but she's actually in stock, so she's actually shipping. And it's a pretty nice sculpt of her, You get some legs. But yeah, Sailor Jupiter is definitely my favorite. She's 9, she's pretty tall too, so these are pretty good size. Hopefully they come with stands. I'm assuming they do. But these, I just think these look cool, so I decided I'm not going to get the rest of the Sailor Scouts, This band Presto, this company, they've got a bunch of stuff. They've got Dragon Ball. Let's see what other series is. They've got Dragon Ball. You got My Hero Academia. Most of the Naruto, most of the classic stuff. Like I said, they have Sailor Moon stuff. I love Sailor Moon, and I specifically love the 90s Sailor Moon when I came over here I've seen some of the Japanese. I've actually watched the entire Japanese live-action Sailor Moon before. I got those on AVI files from some website, and ended up watching all of those. And those were all subtitled, I believe. And I really liked the girl who played Sailor Jupiter. I think she's tall, a taller Japanese girl. She had like brown hair, real nice looking girl. She was a model or something. But anyways. I watched all of that. I watched the movies. I even watched the chibi stuff, Not a chibi, whatever this little goofy character is what's called or whatever. And I did see some of the newer ones that was on, I think, Netflix or whatever it was, that they kind of redid Sailor Moon. It was kind of weird. And that was pretty good. But, I really liked this. I don't know. I guess I was a sucker for these girls in their super high-cut skirts. This was in the 90s. This was one of the only anime that I kind of watched. But like I said, I watched it on the American version. And I had a couple of the dolls. I went over to Canada and got a couple of the dolls over in Windsor there at the mall. Anyways, so yeah, I have a kind of a soft spot for Sailor Moon whenever I see Sailor Moon stuff. Specifically, I like Sailor Mars too. I like Sailor Mercury. But yeah, Sailor Jupiter is my favorite. Again, it's like green. I don't know what it is with me and green. Green must be my favorite color, because all of my favorite characters seem to have green. And I like the brown hair on her too. Or auburn. I guess it's brown. Yeah. But yeah, so anyways. So yeah, I got those coming. The other thing I managed to order, and this was like I have a wish list on thrift books, and one of the things that came up, no, I'm not going to activate my cash back. One of the things that came up as far as, my old science fiction novels is the Edgar Rice Burroughs, the Princess of Mars, the Mars books. And I know they've been done to death in the comic books with what's-her-face, Thuvia, or not Thuvia, Deja Thoris. But I read these not a long time ago, but in the 90s. I read Princess of Mars. I read Thuvia, Maid of Mars. That's why I said Thuvia. I don't think I read all 5 of these. I read the first one, the third one, and I think that's it. No, I remember. I went back in the 2000s and ended up reading all of them, finished all 5 of these. And I just checked them out from the library in like a collected works or whatever. But these specifically, let's see if they show them. These are, this specific version of it, when was the release? 1979. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. So they had these at the Rochester Book Center too, and I remember seeing these all the time. And I remember I was just, oh, they're numbered. That's so cool. So I wanted this specific version of these books. They're a little, mass market paperback. I don't know who's the company put them out. Del Rey Books. So yeah, and they were like $5 a piece. And actually, I got a free. If you notice, I guess I've been ordering too much on thrift books. But I got a free what do you call it? Reading rewards applied. I got a free book out of it. And it's funny, they took out the most expensive one, which is kind of nice. So I essentially got 5 books, so they're all less than $4 a piece, and free shipping. So I can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's like going to a used bookstore, which it is a used bookstore, but so I ended up getting that. So last thing I'm going to end on here, I don't want to get going before I go the hour again, which I probably will, talking about this. Let's go back to the big camera. Let's see who. Email. Okay. Obviously, it's a record. It came from Discogs. Well, it came from Kevin Miller from Pleasantville, Pennsylvania. He, they're all different sellers and stuff on Discogs, but I've been looking for this for a long time. Although I wasn't looking very hard because it was pretty easy to get. But this is an album I've been wanting for a while. And I've got maybe I will go the hour because I've got stories behind this band. They're a local band, well, not local as in Bay City, but they're a Michigan band. And they had one big hit on MTV back in the late 80s, because I think this is 87 when this album came out, I'm pretty sure. It's 87 or 88, I think it's 87. And this was a band that, I don't know, I really liked them. I listened to the whole album. My sister had the album, I think, on cassette. And I ended up, I don't think I ever had it on CD. But I wanted it on LP for my collection, and I found a sealed version of it, and again, I'm going to open it. But it's a vintage record, sealed, and it wasn't that much money. Ah, Jesus. Why they gave me this free record with it? It's got a record in it, too. Hello, Dolly, put on your Sunday clothes. Songs from Hello, Dolly. Guess they just gave me a free record. I guess just for to keep it. You're awesome. Thank you, Tim. He wrote on the bottom of the box. I guess I'm awesome. From Kevin. Is that the guy who sent it? Yes, Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller, if you're watching this, thank you for the record, even though I bought it off you, but thanks for having it. He really did a great job packing this thing, too. So, I'll show you the band once I get the record out of here. Yeah, they're a local band from Michigan. They actually came up to Bay City a couple of years ago and played. I don't know if they're still together now. I think they come together periodically to do like events and stuff. But I saw them twice. I saw them in Hart Plaza, downtown Detroit, and I think it was for one of the fireworks, which was a free concert downtown. And I also saw them in Ann Arbor. Oh no, Ypsilanti. They were playing a carnival like thing in Ypsilanti. I believe I was with my sister with that because she went to University of Michigan. I think we went over to that, or it was for the drag races. Motor City or the Speedway, whatever, Winston Speedway. I can't remember. But anyways, they played. So the name of the group is Rhythm Corps. So it's sealed, but they've got it in a regular sleeve. It was $10, and I think I paid the $3.99 shipping for it. So I said it's sealed, and it's got very minimal wear on the corners. Rhythm Corps. This was, I think they had a follow-up album later on, but this was their main album, and it was called Common Ground, and you probably have heard the song. The album's called Common Ground, and then the hit single off here, which was on MTV, was called Common Ground. Look it up on YouTube, you can see the video. You'll know, if you know it, you'll be like, oh, that song. But yeah, the whole album is amazing. You know, I Surrender, Solidarity is a great song. I really like Giants. Faith and Muscle, that's a great song. Perfect Treason, Revolution Man. I mean, the whole album is just perfect. You know, it's not super heavy. I mean, this isn't Iron Maiden, this isn't Metallica, and they were very kind of, I don't know what they were, to tell you the truth. I guess they were sort of new wavy, sort of alternative-y, sort of, they're kind of like Icehouse and like some of those other bands of that time. I guess they were kind of like new wave-ish college. Everybody's called it college music, and they were a local band. Like I said, and they play. I never saw them at the college, but I saw them locally. Yeah, I've been wanting this for a very, very long time on LP. Back when I was collecting records in the late '80s, I never got a copy of this. Like I said, I think I had just had my sister's cassette tape. I ended up commandeering. Yeah. Very, very glad to have this. So, it's going to go into the collection. It's going to get a listen to after I listen to tonight's. I'm going to clean that. I've been cleaning my discs as I listen to them and putting them in new inner sleeves. There's Hall & Oates. That's the big one from the 80s with, Out of Touch on it, and here are some of the other ones that were big on that album. I used to have that on cassette too. I remember, I can vividly remember sitting on the love seat, because we didn't have a couch, in my mom's apartment down in Wilcox, and I'm playing with Cobra Commander and some other G.I. Joes on the love seat and listening to that album on cassette. The cassette player was sitting on the floor. So yeah. So I'm going to go listen to that one and clean it up and then re-sleeve it, and it'll go back down in there, and then this will probably get listened to very soon, if not tomorrow or even maybe even tonight as well. I got a lot of work to do. I'm still not done for the day with work. I still have to do more. Got some coloring of a comic cover to do tonight that I have to finish up for Friday, because I have to take my son somewhere tomorrow, which I wasn't expecting to take him. I don't really care, but I got to kind of work my butt off today to kind of make up for tomorrow's missing time. So, all right. So I'm gonna let you go here. It's gone an hour, and I think I'm gonna go grab some dinner now, and then come back and do that. Finish coloring that comic cover. Yeah. So subscribe. I keep saying subscribe. Like, whatever, comment. I'd like to hear some stuff. Tell me your story. Tell me your stories with some of the stuff, or if you even know what any of this stuff is. And I'd love to start a conversation. I just love having conversations with people. So I'd love to open a dialogue with me on this stuff. And you can either talk in the comment section, or hit me up on. I have to put my Discord on here at some point. Or hit me up. My email's down there in the business contacts. You can always email me too. But yeah, so some of you guys are coming over from my comic stuff, so you guys talk to me anyways. But all right, tomorrow I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I might be too busy to do a video tomorrow. I'll still post. Again, I'm ahead of the game. I'm still posting the last few videos, so. I got kind of a head start, then I lost a week because of the vacation, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, all right, let me go before it goes forever. So I will see you tomorrow, and take care. Bye-bye.